I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. Professional chefs are getting tired of cooking you salmon. It's a joke among chefs that salmon has to be on every single menu, and while I really like salmon personally, I do get tired of cooking the same thing all the time. So a couple menu cycles ago, I decided to take a risk and take salmon off the menu and put on something that's much more of a West Virginia ingredient anyway, trout. It took some time and it took some research, but eventually I developed what we're calling our Rock Holler Trout dish. There are several components to this dish. The base of it is a Hoppin' John, which is a Carolina regional recipe that I kind of updated for us here in West Virginia. I call ours a lowbrow Hoppin' John because I wanted to do, instead of ham, I wanted to use Spam. I thought that would be a really interesting way to pull in something from my childhood that we used to eat on a regular basis around here that maybe we don't see as often anymore. But I really enjoy adding value and augmenting what may be seen as less desirable ingredients and making them really fancy. So our Hoppin' John is built off of Spam. Also, to change it up a little bit, we're going to use black forbidden rice. Now, black rice has a really great nutty flavor, and it's also has a beautiful color. But to be honest, we already had it in the kitchen, and I thought it would be a great use of it. I invite you to come into the restaurant to try it out, but if you want to make the Rock Holler Trout at home, I'm going to tell you how. Check it out. Let's start off with our Hoppin' John because it's kind of more involved and it's going to take a lot of time. So while that's cooking, we can put together the other elements of this dish. We're going to need 1.5 to 2 ounces of Spam. We're going to want to mince that up. 2 celery stalks sliced and chopped. About half of a yellow onion chopped. Half of a green bell pepper chopped. 2 garlic cloves chopped. 1/2 a teaspoon of fresh thyme. About 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, a pinch of cayenne, salt to taste, 4 cups of chicken broth, 2 cups of black-eyed peas, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and 3/4 cups of black forbidden rice. We need to render out the Spam in a Dutch oven over medium-high heat. Once that's starting to crisp up, go ahead and add in your celery, onion, bell pepper, garlic, thyme, black pepper, cayenne, and 1 teaspoon of your salt. Stir that occasionally, cooking it until the onion is tender. Then add your broth and black-eyed peas. Bring it to a boil and reduce to simmer until the peas are tender and everything's coming together. Meanwhile, rinse your rice and add that to the saucepan, stirring occasionally until it's fragrant and lightly toasted. You'll really be able to notice as those smells open up. And we want to make sure not to overcook it, but to toast it. Once your black forbidden rice is toasted, add in 3 cups of your stock and a pinch of salt. Bring it to a boil, then reduce the heat to medium-low, cover it, and cook it until it's tender. For black rice, it's about half an hour. When I was making my stock, it must have reduced too much, so I only added 3 cups of stock instead of 4. So to solve that problem, I used a cup of the black-eyed pea brine. Once your rice is done, fluff it with a fork and add it into the mixture with the peas and everything else. Stir that until everything's evenly distributed. Cover your Hoppin' John and leave it warm on the back of the stove while you finish the rest of the recipe. Whenever you're storing seafood or any kind of fish, make sure to keep it super cold. So even if it's in your refrigerator, you might want to put some ice on top of it. To make the trout, you're going to need per serving 1 trout with the head removed and butterflied. You can either buy it this way or do it yourself. Then you're going to need a couple pats of butter, about a tablespoon each, a splash of dry white wine, probably a tablespoon or so, and a sprinkle of salt and pepper. Remove your trout from the container. I prefer to buy mine already butterflied with the heads removed and it's ready to go, but I like to keep that skin on there. We're going to put the skin side down onto a sheet tray, sprinkle it with a little salt, pepper, granulated garlic, then we're going to place some butter on top of it and spritz a little dry white wine over top. Throw it in a preheated oven at 350 degrees for about 8 to 10 minutes. If you're not sure that your trout's done, use a fork to work your way in between in the thickest part of the trout and make sure it's cooked all the way through. While your trout is in the oven, your Hoppin' John is resting on the back of the stove, let's go ahead and throw together a beurre blanc. For that, we will need 3 tablespoons of dry white wine, 2 tablespoons of white wine vinegar, 1 small minced shallot, a pinch of salt, 1 tablespoon of heavy cream, and 8 tablespoons of unsalted butter cut into pieces and chilled in the freezer. In a heavy bottom saucepan over medium-high heat, bring together your wine, vinegar, shallot, and salt to a boil. Once we hit a boil, reduce the heat to medium-low and simmer until your liquid is reduced by 2/3. It's going to take right around 5 minutes. Then whisk in your cream and slowly add your butter 1 piece at a time, whisking vigorously so that it fully incorporates. So to plate, we're going to lay the lowbrow Hoppin' John out on half of the plate and then fold the butterflied trout back together, lay it up onto the Hoppin' John. It's going to give us a little bit of height, make it look more attractive. Then spoon out some of the beurre blanc on top and sprinkle on your microgreens or green onion. And that, my friends, is the Rock Holler Trout at Vagabond Kitchen. Do you think I can convert you from a salmon person to a trout person? Give it a shot. I bet I can. I'd wager that you'd crush this plate, and I would like it if you would smash that subscribe button.